The chandelier crystals fractured the city lights into 1,000 cold knives when I saw my father, Elias, tip the pale powder from a tiny vial into my Prosecco. His cufflinks caught the glow as his hand moved, slow, practiced, the way he signed multimillion-dollar deals.
No tremor. No hesitation.
Just the faintest curve of satisfaction at the corner of his mouth. Around us, the rooftop gala spun on. Violins, champagne towers, laughter that cost more per decibel than most people earned in a month. My sister Lila was 3 feet away, already lifting her own glass and a toast to herself. Never noticed. I stood there, flute sweating against my palm, feeling the exact second something inside me calcified into a weapon. I smiled at him, wide, obedient, the smile I'd perfected since childhood, and pretended to sip. The liquid never touched my lips. That was the night I stopped being their quiet second daughter. We grew up in a glass and marble fortress overlooking the bay, where every wall was a museum of Lila's victories. Her rowing medals hung like military decorations. Her scholarship plaques gleamed under recessed lighting. My photos were there too, but smaller, lower, sometimes literally crooked because no one bothered to fix the nail. At 14, I'd won the National Ocean Conservation Prize for proving the runoff from Dad's factories was poisoning the marshes. I walked into breakfast clutching the crystal trophy, like it could shield me. Elias didn't look up from his stock ticker. My mother, Celeste, kept scrolling through Lila's latest Harvard acceptance posts. "That's nice, Mira," Celeste said, eyes still on her phone. "But your posture in the ceremony photo is terrible. Shoulders back next time." That afternoon, Lila's new shell from the National Regatta took center stage on the mantel. My trophy went into a drawer already crowded with old report cards. The pattern was surgical. Birthdays, holidays, Sunday dinners, everything orbited Lila the way planets orbit a brighter sun. My straight A's in marine biology were expected. My refusal to join the family firm after graduation was childish rebellion. When I chose to work for an underfunded coastal watchdog instead of taking the cushy VP of something vague title they'd created for me, Elias slammed his palm on the mahogany table so hard the silverware jumped. "You want to bite the hand that clothed you?
Fine.
Pay your own way." I was already packing when he said it. The silence in my bedroom that night felt like the first clean breath I'd taken in 23 years. The night of the gala, Lila's engagement party, naturally, was supposed to be another coronation. I only left the rooftop because the ladies' room line curled like a conga. I slipped through the service corridor behind the kitchen, heels clicking on scuffed linoleum, chasing the faint smell of bleach and desperation. Halfway down the hall I heard them. The door to the pantry stood ajar, light spilling across the tiles like an accusation. "She gets the trust in 8 days, Celeste hissed. "Full access. She's already requesting the old lab reports, Elias. The ones we buried." "Then we delay her," he answered, voice calm as a scalpel. "A brief hospitalization buys us months. An overdose looks like party girl recklessness. Tragic, but believable." My lungs forgot how to work. The flute in my hand trembled, Prosecco sloshing against the crystal like a tiny, frantic ocean. "Elias. It's measured, Celeste. Non-lethal unless she's fragile. We just need her quiet long enough to move the accounts." The door handle was cold under my fingers. I could have burst in, screamed, thrown the poison glass at their feet. Instead, I backed away, silent, the way I'd learned to move through that house my entire life. But this time the silence had teeth. I returned to the party, set the untouched flute on a passing tray, and found Lila mid-laugh, arm looped through her fiancé's. For the first time I really looked at her, really saw the faint tightness around her eyes, the way her smile never reached them either. She'd been the golden child so long she probably didn't even know there'd been a war. I leaned close, lips brushing her ear. "Walk with me to get air?" She followed, puzzled but trusting, because I was still the harmless little sister. On the far edge of the rooftop, city lights glittering below us like scattered diamonds, I told her everything. The powder, the trust, the quiet plan to put me in a hospital, or a grave, for the crime of knowing too much. Her face went white beneath the perfect makeup, hand flying to her mouth. Then, slowly, she reached into her clutch and pulled out her own phone. "Record," she whispered. We stood shoulder to shoulder while I spoke clearly, calmly, into the microphone about what I'd seen and heard, dates, times, exact words. When I finished, Lila pressed send, to the family lawyer, to the board, to every major news outlet that had spent years kissing Elias's ring. By the time the police arrived, the powder still dissolving in an abandoned glass, the orchestra had moved on to something mournful and slow. Elias saw us across the crowd, realization dawning like frost. I lifted an empty hand in a small, polite wave. He'd taught me silence could be a weapon. I just chose a sharper one. And for the first time in that glittering, treacherous night, I finally stepped into the light that had never been meant for me and made it mine.